12.14 was a ridiculous patch with a ton of meta-shifting changes, so we've got a lot to discuss in this tier list update, thanks to the help of our challenger players and using the most up-to-date stats. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. The most impactful changes to the meta in 12.14 were the Rune and Dragon changes. This has led to a huge spike in power for lane bully champions, and Quinn is one of them. Potions healing less, Resolve Tree providing less durability, and Dragons being more important all indirectly buff Quinn. Quinn is one of the few top lane champions who can not only smash lane, but also roam extremely well post level 6. Of course, it's easier said than done, but if you can solo kill your opponent a few times, then use ult to roam down for dragons, your ability to impact games is going to be extremely high in 12.14. You'll find Quinn placed in our S tier as an optimal carry top laner. Very similar to Quinn, another top laner loving the 12.14 changes is Aurelia. It's not just the Rune and Potion changes that are helping Aurelia though, as 2 of her most common matchups were both nerfed. Gangplank and Gnar being weaker this patch, but still played at very high rates, gives Aurelia an extra boost as she's always done very well in those matchups. Both Gnar and GP lost base health, along with less healing from potions, so Aurelia has the ability to exploit the matchup so much easier. If you can pilot Aurelia well and are in high elo, she's definitely an S tier top laner, but for the majority of ranks, we have her ranked in A, which is where she'll be placed on the tier list. For the top lane tier list, we have Shen and Darius as the 2 OP picks. The major trend up in top lane for 12.14 has been the fall of scaling reliant champions and the rise of lane bullies. With less sustained throughout the early game, champions who have always been great at threatening for kills saw an uptick in strength. For example, picks like Olaf, Quinn, Darius, Uxin, and Riven are all performing extremely well. Vice versa, someone like Kayle, who was super godlike a few patches back, is no longer that top tier pick due to direct and indirect nerfs. Our top 3 low elo top laners of the patch are Garen, Mordekaiser, and Yorick. Shen, Mordekaiser, or Darius are all exceptional bans. For a follow-up on the 12.14 Wukong nerfs, he has seen a considerable drop in strength. The passive nerf has outweighed the base healing buff, which is what we expected. However, the nerf has been a little more impactful than anticipated. We'll be moving Wukong from OP into S tier this patch, so not a major adjustment, but his time on top of the jungle meta has come to an end. The biggest winner out of the jungle this patch has been Jarvan as a result of his direct buffs and the dragon changes. Jarvan has always had an extremely potent engage pattern, and combined with his strong early gank power, he can run away with games in 12.14. Spam gank to get your lanes ahead, control the buffed up dragons so that your team is even stronger for the mid to late game, and watch as the wins roll in. We had moved Jarvan into B tier for our pre-patch tier list, but another bump into A is what we have planned for mid-patch. More commonly played in the top lane right now, but heavily slept on in the jungle, is Olaf. Olaf fits into 12.14 really well as a result of the early game buffs and dragons becoming more valuable. As a potent skirmishing jungler, you can gain early advantages and transition that into a dragon soul win condition. The challenging smite nerf is amazing for Olaf, as he performs way better with chilling smite and can duel the enemy jungler even easier due to challenging smite's damage reduction being reduced. Olaf will find a place in S tier as a result of many positive changes. For the jungle tier list, our OP tier consists of Nunu, Diana, Fiddle, and Master Yi. Diana moves back into OP tier as the Sunfire nerfs have been way less negatively impactful than anticipated. Sunfire nerfs across the board did not really accomplish much, as Master Yi is also still performing extremely well with the items slotted in as a third purchase. The win rate of Sunfire if purchased third on Yi has even gone up for 12.14, so Riot definitely missed the mark on this one. The Kayn adjustments have actually led to a rise in his win rate, which probably isn't something Riot wanted either. Best low elo junglers of the patch are Mumu, Master Yi, and Shyvana. Nunu, Master Yi, and Diana are some of the best value bans. By the looks of the patch notes, the Qiyana bonus damage bug has not been fixed yet, so if you want some free elo, then you know who to pick. Basically, whenever first strike is off cooldown, if you Q and then W immediately after, you will deal way more damage than intended. As a result of this bug, Qiyana has shot up to having one of the highest win rates for any mid laner and is being placed in the OP tier for mid patch. For the first time in ages, LeBlanc has escaped C tier and is a decent mid lane pick in 12.14. With the mana buffs, one thing to keep track of is the potential for Night Harvester to become her most optimal mythic. Harvester was buffed a few patches back, and although the sample size is quite low, it's LeBlanc's best performing mythic so far this patch. One other key thing to note is to stay away from Inspiration and roll with Sorcery secondary. Last patch, the rune pages had almost identical win rates, but due to the Time Warp and Biscuit nerfs, Mana Flow and Transcendence now win about 3% more. Overall, LeBlanc is still far from being on top of the mid lane meta, but she's a viable B tier pick due to the positive changes. Other than a few minor adjustments, the mid lane meta is quite stable midway through 12.14. Qiyana, Victor, Sylas, and Anivia are who we rate the highest for the current meta. We talked about many mid laners in recent patches who have seen a rise, with Night Harvester, and another to watch out for is Akali. Over the past 3 patches, Harvester has outperformed every other mythic on Akali, but it's still only being played 10% of the time. The buffs have given Night Harvester more power than Rocket Belt for the majority of situations, so look to try it out. Sustained nerfs have also been great for Akali too, so we'll be adjusting her up 1 tier for 12.14. If you guys enjoy those off-meta picks, then Varus mid is one to try out for 12.14, fresh off his recent buffs. AP Varus to be specific, as the new build of Nashers into Riftmaker and Rabadons is providing him with some sneaky power. The best mid laners for low elo are Swain, Malzahar, and Annie. Sylas, Victor, or Qiyana are who you should have highest on your ban list. One ADC who's come out massively on top for 12.14 is Draven. Draven wants to push the pace, looking to play super aggressive when openings present themselves, so the potion and resolve nerfs were huge. Enemy ADC now has 30 less health available to them, while the enemy support has 60 less due to the potion nerfs. It's even more than that if we factor in biscuits. Exhaust losing some early game power is super positive for Draven too. We had moved Draven into our S tier for the pre-patch tier list, but we'll be shifting him up even further and into OP for mid-patch. Following right in behind Draven, becoming indirectly stronger this patch has been Samira. Less health available for the enemies means greater windows of opportunity for Samira to dive in and pick off her targets. From A to S tier is where we'll be moving Samira. Vayne had a good run in our OP tier right after the durability update, but things have taken a major turn downhill in recent patches. In 12.14, Resolve was nerfed, which has hit Vayne pretty hard, as she's been running the tree for secondary runes for a while now. Exhaust was also nerfed, which makes Vayne more vulnerable, and to top it all off, potions being hit means it's much more difficult to survive her weaker early game. Overall, Vayne has become much more exploitable over recent patches and falls down into our B tier as a result. For the ADC tier list, the OP tier is comprised of Draven, Sivir, and Seraphine. Despite the nerfs, Seraphine is still an OP bot lane pick. The champion is so low risk, high reward, you can be completely clueless, yet still be way more useful than the enemy ADC come mid-game by spamming W and hitting one good R. Like Samira and Draven, Neela has seen a nice uptick in power for 12.14, with all the indirect changes positively affecting her. RIP to all the Zeri mains out there, as she now rivals Aphelios as the worst ADC for solo queue. We may still see the champion prioritized in pro, but for solo queue specifically, all the recent nerfs have been too much to handle. Veigar, Misfortune, and Seraphine are the 3 most optimal bot lane carries for low elo. Seraphine, Sivir, or Draven are some of the best bot lane bans of that patch. If you watched our pre-patch tier list, we noted that certain Guardian users like Braum and Rakan could see a substantial drop-off in strength, and that has played out so far. It's really quite odd that Riot would nerf Guardian but not compensate the users that were already in weaker states. It would have made much more sense if every single Guardian user was super OP, but that was not the case at all. That being said, Braum has taken a big hit this patch and falls into our B tier as one of the weaker solo queue supports. With Enchanters indirectly nerfed in 12.14, it really opens up the playing field for Pyke to rise up. Less healing in the game is exactly what Pyke wants, and there were so many changes that helped with this in 12.14. With Draven, Samira, and Neela all rising up in priority, it's a major win for Pyke, as he loves being paired with more aggressive ADCs who can follow off his catch plays. If you're looking for that true solo carry from the support role, then Pyke is one we'd highly recommend right now, as he'll be placed in our OP tier. So for the support tier list, it's Pyke, Amumu, and Taric as the OP carries of the patch. Enchanters are by no means trash now after the item nerfs, but the changes have done a really good job at evening things out. For a while, their Enchanters were far and beyond the most broken champs you could play, but now you've got a variety of melee options that are just as good. Unless, of course, your melee option is reliant on running Guardian, which is the case for Braum and Rakan. We noted Braum was moved into our B tier, and so has Rakan as a result of the Guardian and Resolve tree nerfs. Top 3 low elo supports for the patch are Mumu, Brand, and Zyra. A few good bans to consider are Renata Glask, Yuumi, or Pyke. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there's your mid-patch update on the solo queue tier list for 12.14. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and we'll catch you in the next one.